Hey everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at part 36 of the Hercules story from Ritchie's Fabulae Faciles. So this chapter is called Hercules Bears Up the Heavens. So you remember at this point, Hercules is still working through his 11th labor. He's trying to get to the Garden of the Hesperides. He doesn't know where to go, and he's found Atlas, right? And Atlas is holding up the sky, and Hercules asks for help, okay, because he just doesn't know where he's supposed to get these golden apples from. That's where we're picking up the story. You're going to see the interaction between Hercules and Atlas, and sort of the trick that Atlas plays on Hercules to hold up the sky. So before we get into the translation, what I always tell you in these videos, the first thing you want to do is try to pre-read the story and come up with a vocab list, or find one from a commentary or grammar. There's a bunch of them out there, but make sure you know the vocab first. It's very difficult to read and understand what's going on if you don't know what the words are. So start there. Then if you can do any sort of grammar pre-read, so just scan the story. If you see anything you're not sure of, maybe write it down, try to look it up. A lot of what you're going to be seeing here involves the subjunctive, right? That's kind of the hardest part. But if you know kind of what's going on in the subjunctive, you learned it in class or anything like that, you should be okay and get a lot of good practice on it. The other thing you want to do is read the story aloud. So if you can read it, practice your speaking, your pronunciation. If you have a classmate who can read it back to you, you can work on your listening skills. Those are always the best way to learn the language, and just work on your reading and understanding instead of just sitting and kind of silently translating. That'll work, but it's not going to give you the best shot to really understand the language. Okay. The other thing I'd encourage you to do is use the read and reread method. So read through it once, write down any problem areas you have. When you're done with your read, look them all up, right? Look up any vocab. That's kind of the easy part. The grammar, you might need a commentary or something like that to look at, but try to figure out where you're going wrong. Then go back and read the story again and keep doing that over and over again until you're able to read through this all the way, and understand what's going on without needing any help, right? Any vocab or any grammar help. It doesn't mean you need to be perfect, but understanding the flow of the story and getting the vast majority of it is really what you're after. Okay. So if you haven't done that yet, go do it. Pause the video, go take a look and come back. If you've done that, use the rest of the video as sort of a checkpoint just to see if what you came up with comes pretty close to mine. It does not need to be exactly what I'm doing here, right? My translation is never perfect, but it should give you a little bit of confidence to see that you're on the right track, and you're ready to move on. Okay, so the story goes like this. You have Atlas autem Hercule maxime prodesse potuit ille enim cum ipse esset pater Hesperidum certo scivit quo in loco esset hortus. Okay, so you have Atlas. He was able, right, potuit. So Atlas was able, or was greatly able, maxime, to assist Hercules, or you might even be able to say, he was able to greatly assist Prodesse, Hercules, right? And Prodesse takes a dative sort of object there, right? That's why you're saying Hercules. So Atlas is able to help Hercules is the idea, okay? For he, ille, and then you almost want to put a comma here. Cum here is going to be since, right? It's explaining why. So you're saying it's that sort of causal sense, you would say, for the subjunctive. So it's saying he, meaning Atlas, since he himself was asset, the pater Hesperidum, the father of the Hesperides, right? So this is why he's useful. Since he was the father of the Hesperides, certo, certainly he knew, scivit, in what place, quo in loco, the garden was, asset hortus. So it's saying, since he is the father of the Hesperides, Atlas knows where the garden is, which is exactly what Hercules needs, right? So Hercules has told him what he's looking for, and now Atlas can help him. Okay, and again, you have that sort of indirect question happening here when you have asset and sort of where the garden was. It's implying that Hercules is kind of asking that, right? That's why you're seeing the subjunctive here. Okay, so Atlas is able to help him. Then it continues on, and you have postquam egitor audivit quam ab causam Hercules venisse ipse inquit ad hortem ibo et filiabus meis persuadebo ut poma sua sponte tradant. So therefore after he heard quam ab causam, right? For what reason, or because of what reason, Hercules venisset, Hercules had come, right? So venisset there, you're looking at the pluperfect subjunctive because, again, it's this indirect question. So Hercules is kind of speaking to him and telling him why he's there, even though we don't see it. So after he heard this, he says, right, Atlas says, ipse, so I myself, right, is kind of what it means in this context. So I myself, ibo ad hortum, I will go to the garden, and persuadebo, I will persuade filiabus meis, I will persuade my daughters. Remember, persuading takes the dative. That's why you're looking at filiabus meis there. So I will persuade my daughters so that they might they might hand over the poma, the apples, sua sponte, on their own will, or by their own will, you might say. Okay, so again, you have this indirect command here with the persuadebo, right? The persuading. Again, that's why you have the ut trad on here, all these subjunctives. So he says, I'll go ahead and go to the garden and I'll persuade my daughters to give you the apples. Okay. Then you have Hercules cum haec audire magna per gavisos est. Vim enim adhibere noluit si res alita fieri posse. So Hercules, right, when he audire, when he hears or he heard this thing, right, these things, this, right. So when he heard this, again, you have the cum clause here setting up the subjunctive. So when he heard this, you have gavisos est. Now this is a semi-deponent. So you have gaudeo, to rejoice. It's perfect, but it's sort of the deponent form, right? So in those perfect tenses, it takes the passive form. So you can translate gavisos est with like something like he greatly rejoiced, right? He was greatly happy, or he greatly rejoiced when he heard this, because, or for enim, noluit adhibere vim, for he didn't want to use, you might say, vim, force, right? So he didn't want to use just sort of strength alone, meaning he didn't want to like have to fight Atlas. So he's happy when Atlas says he'll do it for him, right? So he didn't want to use force. If this matter or affair, posset fieri, was able to be done aliter, in another way, right? In any other way. So he's happy that he doesn't have to use force and fight Atlas, and instead Atlas is going to help him out. Then you have constituit igitur oblatum auxilium accipere. So he decided, therefore, to accept accipere, to take or accept the auxilium, the help. Oblatum here is your perfect passive participle, right? So it's from offero, right? So it means something like having been offered, but you can translate it as offered, probably works too, right? So therefore he decided, meaning Hercules decided, to accept the offered help, meaning he's going to take Atlas up on his offer. Then you have Atlas tamen postulavit ut dum ipse abesset Hercules caelum umeri sustinere. So Atlas, however, he demanded or requested postulavit, right? So he has one sort of request. He requested that, right? Doom, so while he himself abesset, while he was away, right? So this is his request of Herc. He says, yeah, I'll do this for you, but there's some sort of conditions attached, right? So while he was away, Hercules, right? Hercules, sustinera, he might, or he would hold up, right? The caelum, the sky, umeris, on his shoulders. So this is all sort of an indirect command because of postulavit, right? This is his demand, and we don't have the quote, so that's why you have so many subjunctives here. But he says, yeah, my demand is this: while I'm away, you're going to hold up the sky, okay? So this is the famous switch where Hercules has to take over the sky. Okay. Then we end with this. You have hoc autem negotium Hercules libenter suscepit et quamquam res erat summi laboris totum pondus caeli continuos complores dies solos sustinebat. So, moreover, however, autem, right? Hercules, he gladly suscepit, he gladly undertook hoc negotium, this task, you might say, right? This undertaking, so this work. Okay, so Hercules is glad to do it, right? So he's like, yeah, I'll hold up the sky. And quam res erat, although the thing was, or the affair, what the matter was, summi laboris, was of great labor, right? It was very laborious, is kind of the idea. It's the genitive of description, you'd say. So it was a thing of great labor, meaning it was difficult to do. Sustineba, he held up solus, alone. He alone held up the totum pondus caeli, the entire weight of the sky, continuos comploros dies. Now here we have time going with the accusative, so it's duration of time. So you want to say he held up the sky for, right, complures dies, several days, and the continuos means like literally continuous in English, or consecutive is kind of one way to do it. So you're saying he alone held up the entire weight of the sky for many consecutive days, meaning Atlas leaves him there for a while, right? It's not just like a 5-minute trip. Herc's sort of mini labor here is hold up the entire sky while Atlas is gone. Okay, so hopefully that made some sense. Again, it's just a lot of subjunctive, which we've been seeing a lot of now, and hopefully it's good practice for you. But if you have any questions at all on the translation or anything you're supposed to do with a vocab, whatever it might be, put them in the comments below. I'm happy to help you. But otherwise, keep at it, keep practicing, right? You're trying to, again, hit a point where you can read this without any help. That's always the good sign that you're ready to move on. But if you need anything, just let me know. Otherwise, keep at it and good luck.